Human, are we? This is no place for you. Be gone. Are you not afraid of me? Humans rarely come here. Those who do turn back when they see me, or make an attempt on my life. But you are different. We once had a master. He created us long, long ago. But he was born with a fatal flaw. He resented those who had what he lacked and became fully mired in hatred. Eventually, he drove himself mad. It was at the peak of this madness that he conjured up we strange creatures. Our master was a tragically lonely soul. Eventually, his solitude eroded his very reason. In the end, he never understood what it was that he truly lacked. Nobody knows when we were born, or where our master has gone. The only ones who even speak a human tongue are myself and my better half. I wish to ask a favor of you. I want you to kill my betrothed. Once, I always found her at my side. But as time went on, things went awry. She became violent, raging uncontrollably. Eventually, she came after me. We have been locked in combat ever since. We seem to be at a standstill. The wounds we exchange are never lethal. I was born of my master's madness. Perhaps this is some curse. I will be sure to assist you in return.
And so begins what is probably one of my favorite side stories of Dark Souls 2. I really like the tale behind Manscorpion Tark and Scorpioness Najka, as they're two people who were once in love but are now in a bitter feud against one another. It's heavily implied by Manscorpion Tark's dialogue, as well as a couple item descriptions, that his master is actually Seath the Scaleless from the original Dark Souls. And this makes a whole lot of sense because Seath delved into all sorts of forbidden knowledge in order trying to create new life forms and just obtain the secret of immortality, which is something he lacked. And now some of the remnants of his work are fighting against one another. And we will help put an end to this bitter feud by facing off against Scorpioness Najka. While she isn't one of the more difficult bosses in the game, Scorpioness Najka is nevertheless one of my favorites. I just love her design, the lore behind her, the music that plays while you're fighting her. It's all excellent. It's really cool. Najka's story, like many characters in this game, is ultimately quite tragic, as she was probably at one time a more kind and caring person, if you can call her that, to Manscorpion Tark, and they did love one another. They were betrothed to one another, but it's almost like the sins of the father kind of thing. While Seath might not technically be her father, he did create her. The madness that Seath succumbed to in his pursuit for immortality and endless knowledge must have somehow passed on to his creations, and Scorpioness Najka is exhibiting some of these traits. She uses some very powerful crystal sorceries, which is something Seath the Scaleless was known for. I just think it's very fascinating how history is kind of repeating itself in some sense with these characters. As you play more of the Dark Souls games, you'll discover that cycles are a big part of the series' story, and this is also true in the story of Manscorpion Tark and Scorpioness Najka. While their story has pretty much come to a close, we will meet another remnant of their master later on.
I knew you'd be back. Thank you. Bearer of let
You've defeated my better half. This is my thanks. Take it. I have no gods to pray to. But still, I pray that your journey will be safe.
Thank you for helping me. I am Ornifex. I owe you some form of thanks, but have nothing for you at the moment. If it would not trouble you, could you visit my abode just down the way? Thank you, kind traveler. I believe that I can be of assistance if you would visit me at my home.
Ornifex is the final blacksmith of Dark Souls 2. She actually gives you access to some of the best boss soul weapons in the entire game, and most of them are from more story-significant bosses, or like ones who have greater power behind their soul, such as the 4 old ones. So you can get some really cool weapons and shields from her. The most curious thing about Ornifex, though, is she shares a striking resemblance to the crow people of the painted world of Ariamis from the original Dark Souls. Now, I'd like to believe that she somehow escaped that painted world, whether it was through Priscilla or some other person, but she eventually came to leave that world and maybe seek out fortune and other adventures in the outside world. She's not the first Corvian to dwell outside of painting. We meet several in Dark Souls 3. But she is unique in that she seems very intelligent, and she is extremely talented in smithing weapons. She's a little strange, admittedly, but I think she's a really cool character all the same.
Back again? Well, this is a pleasant surprise. Ah, it was you who vanquished my body. It is my body, you see, and I can sense what happens to it. I do not mourn for it. Good riddance. If you wish for help, summon me. I'm rusty in battle, but will fight by your side. Thank you for lending an ear to my ramblings. Here, take these. I've no use for them. Go along and resume your journey. Farewell. I will retire to my silence.
The Doors of Pharos is the second of 2 areas that belong to the Rat King Covenant. Like the Grave of the Saints, if you're part of the Rat King Covenant, anyone who trespasses in the Doors of Pharos will be summoned to your world and will be forced to either fight you or escape the area. Of the 2 areas, I think I actually like the design of the Doors of Pharos a bit more. There's a whole heck of a lot more traps here, and there's tons of Pharos Lockstone slots, but 90% of them are trapped. There's only a couple of them that lead to actually some pretty cool stuff. Like the Grave of Saints, at the end of this area, there is another test of the Rat King, and this one is going to be a bit more difficult than the Royal Rat Vanguard. This time, in order to prove our worth to the Rat King, we will be facing off against the Royal Rat Authority. I know some people aren't so fond of the Royal Rat Authority boss fight, but I do actually kind of rather enjoy it. There definitely is an element of chance towards the start. If you don't manage to dodge those little toxic rats, you're in for a really rough time. But if you do get lucky like I was in this fight, you can manage to avoid them and just fight the Royal Rat Authority himself without any trouble. Like the Royal Rat Vanguard, the Royal Rat Authority is the test for those who wish to seek the Rat King. Soul of the Rat King Authority of the Underground Realm. Those who choose to serve the Rat King must have the courage to face his challenges. And like the previous encounter with the Rat King, by passing his test we show we are worthy of joining his covenant. I'm not going to join his covenant for his playthrough, but he does share some really interesting info once you progress further into the covenant rankings. There's some really cool dialogue, so I want to share some of it here. Thy deeds are known to me. Still, there is ever more work to be done. Humans are creatures of greed. The time came they broke their word and hunted us down. I had their word, and the underworld was ours to rule, untouched as it is, by the rays of the sun. The more humans coveted, the more blinded they became as to what truly mattered. And that is why I pity the fools called humans. My servant, human scent lingers upon thee yet. Rid thyself of it, if thou canst. I like how the Rat King kind of portrays the rats as the victims in this scenario, but it does make it seem like the Rat King does have some more noble qualities to him. And there's one more short but sweet line of dialogue he shares once you reach the max level in the Covenant. 'Twould seem some sunlight poison creatures are worthy of great honor. Thou'dst permitted me to dream. One day, rats and humans may yet live and die together, in peace. I do like that last line there, how even the Rat King thinks that there is some sort of happy ending on the horizon if we can just work together towards it.
Many deal, many thanks.